Number 10, Sewer Cleaner. Now, this is easily one of the most hated and infamous jobs in the world today. It's quite possibly even more undesirable than being a tax collector. That's right, because who in their right mind wants to be a sewer cleaner and inspector? Now, when you think about sewers, you acknowledge that they're there, but the fact of the matter is that you generally choose not to think about them because they're pretty disgusting. And yet, a very real job is for people to go and wade through them and clean them out so blockages don't happen and buildup of certain waste products doesn't happen. And in fact, if you remember the series Dirty Jobs on Discovery Channel, the producer got the green light for that series after doing a local news channel piece about this job. And even he admits that it's one of the dirtiest and most disgusting things he's ever done. Aside from sloshing through a relentless chocolate tide, inspectors encounter a myriad of man-made products that shouldn't be flushed down toilets, along with roaches the size of thumbs and rats the size of bread loaves. It's hot, dirty, and too smelly to describe. Not so fun fact, it's said that over 100 people die while performing this job every single year. How? Because it's so toxic down there, and the equipment they use isn't efficient enough, and thus they die from exposure to toxic gases, suffocation, and more. All for a pay that just doesn't make this job seem worth it at all. Honestly, if you ask me, it seems kind of criminal. Number 9, Forensic Entomologist. For most people, hearing that there is a maggot near them is cause for them to scream, kill it with extreme prejudice, and then make sure that there aren't any other such things around them. But if you're a forensic entomologist, it's literally your job not just to watch maggots, but watch how they eat things alive. How is that a thing? Well, if you remember CSI and other crime shows, bugs are a tool to measure decay and how long something has been dead. You know, like a human body. As such, the forensic entomologist will go and observe and record all the various evidence and factors surrounding the dead bodies, including how animals affect them. There are even things called body farms, where bodies are donated to areas where nature can take hold of them in various situations, and thus researchers can investigate how quickly natural processes cause the body to decay. Aside from being disgusting in just about every way that matters, the fact that you have to seek out and study dead bodies as they're rotting and are festered with bugs makes it not for the faint of heart. And yet, surprisingly, this is a job that many people do, and the world is technically better off for it. Number 8, Slaughterhouse Worker. This one goes out to all of you who like a good burger from a fast food joint, or those who just like to eat meat regularly. Because, as you all likely know, meat is something that the whole world likes to eat in various forms and in various flavors. Cows, pigs, chickens, deer, and more. If it's meat, there are probably some people who are going to want to eat it. So, to feed this appetite, ranches raise these animals in large numbers so that they can be slaughtered and processed for meat and other animal products later. That leads to a need for the very dirty and very disgusting job of slaughterhouse worker. Yes, these are the people that have to prepare the meat for you when it's time for the animals themselves to be killed. It's honestly a bit self-explanatory why this job is so dirty and disgusting. You're not just surrounded by animals, you're surrounded by dead ones. There's blood, entrails, and other things surrounding you on an hourly basis, and you are pretty much guaranteed to get some of it on you. Gross. Making it all the more insufferable is that it's a job that doesn't pay well, and many people who work in the factories are criticized for even having the job in the first place. In other words, it's a vicious job from start to finish. Number 7, Snake Researcher. Here is another job that Mike Rowe described on Dirty Jobs, and you can almost hear the pain in his voice as he talked about it in an interview. To properly study the feeding habits of water snakes in Michigan, snake researchers pull large snakes from Lake Erie, squeeze them until they puke, and then analyze their vomit to see what they're eating. It's as disgusting as it sounds, but on the day in question, to add to the excitement, I was bitten no less than 36 times. Annoying, bloody, and very dirty. You should probably sympathize with Mike here. As you can imagine, while studying snakes is very fair and a rational thing to do in certain instances, trying to get them to puke just so you can study what they eat, that's just strange, and no fun at all for both the people and the snakes. Just think about it. The snakes worked hard to get that meal, and then some human comes along and gets them to puke it all up? It's no wonder they're angry and want to bite the humans. Plus, as you can infer, this is a job where getting bitten isn't just a risk that you take in some ways, it's a natural and everyday thing that occurs. Who came up with this job? Someone with a strange and twisted mind, that's for sure. Number 6. Crime Scene Cleaner. Picture your favorite cop or detective show and think about the beginning of the episode where the agents come across a crime scene that is truly gruesome and morally reprehensible. Naturally, both the agents and their crime scene team will investigate every aspect of the scene, no matter how grisly, and try to figure out how the crime took place. But what happens after it's been approved to be a closed case, and thus the room is no longer needed? Well, that's the thing. Someone has to go and clean it up. Yes, it's for real. There is a literal and serious business called crime scene cleaners, and they are the folks that come in and clean up the houses, rooms, or whatever other area the crime took place in, just so it can be livable again. Yes, for real. People will go and live in places where deaths have occurred, usually for a cheap price, and it's the crime scene cleaner's job to go and make sure there isn't any blood or guts or fluids or rancid smells around so that they can indeed be sold or made usable again. What a world we live in, right? Number 5. Cow Inseminator. It may sound like this job is totally fictional, but it's not, and if you don't believe it, prepare to have your mind blown. This is yet another job that had to be investigated on the Longtime show about unpleasant jobs, and it was ranked in the top 5 of jobs that were just so dirty it would make you cringe. The inseminator reaches into the cow and injects the bull semen into the womb. Oftentimes, the cow reacts by emptying its bowels, which typically occurs several inches from the inseminator's face. Dirty, weird, and not for the faint of heart. It probably doesn't need to be said, but the facts are important. This job is necessary for proper breeding of the cows and continuing the generations of fine cattle on farms and ranches everywhere, but it's not something you should seriously consider doing unless you're getting paid a whole lot of money, maybe even millions of dollars. Let's break down all the ways this is disgusting. First and foremost, you're reaching into the cow. Who would want that job? Who would even want to talk about that job? Exactly. Then, as noted, you are constantly at risk of the cow expunging its bowels at you because it can and drenching you in feces. This is a job that you literally can't sugarcoat because there's no way to sweeten it up. It's filthy, it's disgusting, and there's no way to avoid the horrid outcome. You can be pretty sure even the cow is disgusted by what is happening to it. Do you think people who do disturbing, dirty, or dangerous jobs should be paid more? How much more? What would you need to be paid to do a job like one of these? Tell me your thoughts in the comments below. Then remember to subscribe to The Biggest, if you haven't already, for more intense videos just like this one. Number 4. Proctologist. Admittedly, this is a bit of a good news, bad news situation. Unlike other dirty jobs, if you are a proctologist at a major hospital, you're going to get paid a lot of money. It won't be easy to get there due to how medical school works, but once you're certified and qualified, you can easily make about $400,000 a year. That's not bad at all. Which is why it's important to mention the bad news now, because proctologists are the specialists who focus on the health of your butt, literally. They are the rear end specialists, and it's their job to go and not just examine the nether regions of people, but sometimes reach into their rears with special rubber gloves and ensure that things are doing all right. Why is this disgusting? They're not the cleanest part of the human body, that's for sure. And the people who come in for treatment often have unpleasant conditions going on in that part of the body, making it likely they have something especially unfun to examine and diagnose. So, not surprisingly, people aren't lining up at the door to go and be the butt doctor, because sure, you'll get paid, but you're going to have a disgusting experience just about every time you get a new patient. No, thank you. Number 3, concrete chipper. This is actually one dirty job that you might never have known about, a concrete chipper. They help clean out the drums on those trucks that pour cement and concrete down to build walls and sidewalks. According to Mike Rowe, Every time the drum on a concrete truck turns, a thin layer of concrete sticks to the walls of the drum and hardens. By the end of the day, the interior of the drum is encased with several tons of hardened concrete, which needs to be jackhammered away. Concrete chippers crawl into the unspeakably claustrophobic environment and slowly chip the concrete away. It's dusty, dirty, back-breaking work. Clearly, this is another layer of disgusting because of the work area, and on top of that, it's a bit dangerous. Not the least of which is that this is a place where you're going to get dirty 100% of the time, on top of being in a tight space working with tools that may just cause you to go deaf if you're not careful. Is it a vital job? For the concrete industry, absolutely, but most in that industry don't want to do that job themselves, and no one can blame them. Number 2. Portable toilet cleaner. The porta potty is easily one of the most creative and yet disgusting inventions ever made. On one hand, it absolutely fulfills a need that people have. They need to go to the bathroom, but they're at an outdoor venue that doesn't have indoor plumbing. So what do? Go to the porta potty. The problem, though, is that these things are infamous for being disgusting due to improper use and bugs flying in them. And if you're trying to use one at a major sports or music venue, you'd rather not even risk looking inside them. So now imagine being the person tasked with going in and cleaning out that place. Exactly. You're trying to block it out of your mind right now, right? This is a job no one would want to have unless they absolutely had to do it to survive. Number 1. Hazmat diver. Behold, a job so dirty and disgusting, it's not surprising that you probably haven't heard of it. As a hazmat diver, you could be tasked with performing essential maintenance of underwater valves and sluice gates, working in septic tanks, diving in landfill sites to maintain pumping equipment, and yes, even finding bodies. The job is so dirty that you're required to go get vaccinated for all sorts of diseases that the job might unintentionally expose you to. And being that you're going to be covered in all sorts of filth just so you can fix stuff, it's not exactly something that everyone wants to do. The problem, though, is that this is a vital job, and it needs to be done, and so people will go into the filth to do what is asked of them. I guarantee you, though, they're not getting paid enough. Thanks for watching. Does this make you appreciate the job you have now because it's not as bad as that other one? Do you know someone who actually works in one of these fields? Or do you know another job that should be on this list? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time on The Biggest.